What is going on, everybody? Mike Butler back with another edition of the Untitled Wrestling Network's review show. We'll be doing our first Raw review show. It is the post Hell in a Cell show, and I gotta say, it wasn't that bad. So, for starters, as soon as the show opens up, you notice the big red Hell in a Cell there, and I didn't think, jokingly, I thought they forgot to take the cell down. However, that is not the case, as we would find out soon enough. Please be sure to follow the Jabronis on bodyslam.net, the Jabronis on Twitter. I can't find my banners. Hold on. Here we go. This makes it so much easier. Follow me on Twitter at Jabroni Butler. Follow the Jabronis at the Jabronis Pod, and follow bodyslam.net at bodyslamnet. You'll see so much wrestling content on bodyslam.net. And my partner in crime, Tove, has a Monday night review on bodyslam.net entitled Monday Night Jabronis, which is the notes he has I will be using for this review show. It's real great. Make sure you follow them on Twitter, bodyslam.net on YouTube as well. Subscribe to me on the Untitled Wrestling Network. So let's get to it. We open up Raw with the VIP lounge. Probably one of my favorite interview segments that the WWE has ever had. You got Bobby Lashley, or as Toph would like to call him, Hot Bobby, MVP, celebrating their victory, or Bobby's victory at Hell in a Cell, in what was a very good match. And I talked about this on the Jabronis with Toph. It was a great match, but the ending was a little a roll-up finish in a Hell in a Cell match. Look, the bottom line is the Hell in a Cell used to mean so much, and everyone knows this. Everyone who's watched wrestling at any point in the 90s or 2000s knows that the Hell in a Cell used to be very special. It was an ending feud match. You know, once you had a match in the cell, that feud was over. And then, you know, you get, once the Hell in a Cell got its own gimmick pay-per-view, that all changed. And so, really, I didn't think it could get any less special. But I was wrong. Because this would lead into the announcement that Bobby Lashley and Xavier Woods would face each other in a Hell in a Cell match on Monday Night Raw. It'd be the fourth Hell in a Cell match in as many days. And don't get me wrong, they were all very good. But in my personal opinion, I don't think the Hell in a Cell match should A, have its own pay-per-view, B, be red, and C, just be thrown in there like it's nothing. That should be a very special thing, you know. Honestly, the last real special Hell in a Cell match that happened was Triple H versus The Undertaker, end of an era. And I know Undertaker and Shane McMahon had a good one at WrestleMania 32, but to me, Triple H and Undertaker was probably the best cell match that there was. But I'm getting off topic. So they're celebrating on the in the VIP lounge, and you know, you wonder who is going to be the next challenger, because remember, Drew McIntyre lost, and because of that, he cannot challenge for the WWE title as long as Bobby Lashley is champion. More on that later. So who is going to challenge Bobby next? I've thought about it. Toph thought about it. I'm sure everyone else thought about it. And I'm pretty sure with the way things were going, you kind of could have figured it out. And exactly that is what happened, as Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods would interrupt the celebration, not with pancakes, but with actual toast. Why? Because MVP, Hot Bobby, and the ladies were about to give a toast. Very funny. I liked it. Not bad. Not a bad start to the show. Kofi Kingston brings up how MVP was crying in a bar when he won the WWE Championship. Awesome. Great continuity. So this sets up Bobby Lashley versus Kofi Kingston at Money in the Bank for the WWE title. It's a nice feud. It's a nice tiny little feud to get out of the way. I think it's probably, without having Drew McIntyre in the match, it's probably the best match you could do for your main event for Raw on a pay-per-view, especially the first pay-per-view with fans back. So I didn't have a problem with that. I don't have again, the problem I really had was we're getting another Hell in a Cell match. So we'll move into that later. We had 5 qualifying matches for Money in the Bank. Love the qualifying matches. I prefer that they spread it out. They got 4 weeks before the pay-per-view. I'd like to see it spread out instead of all in one night, but that's just me. And honestly, with the way Raw has been for the past year and a half, I'd say, beggars can't be choosers. So the first match, AJ Styles versus Ricochet, gotta say, what made this Raw probably the best one in the Thunderdome era or pandemic era, whatever you'd like to call it. What made it so good was A, fresh matchups, and B, they kind of had shock value. Because for this match, Ricochet defeated AJ Styles, not necessarily clean, but you know what? I'll take it. I mean, I'm not, again, beggars can't be choosers. I don't like distraction finishes when they're not necessary. Maybe this was, I get they're trying to build AJ Styles and Omos versus the Viking Raiders. I don't know why. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm assuming that they will face each other at Money in the Bank now that Styles lost, but AJ Styles was in control. Viking Raiders came out to attack Omos. Omos ends up going through the timekeeper area, and that distracts AJ, who goes for the phenomenal forearm, and Ricochet with a nice counter into the recoil. 1, 2, 3. Ricochet's going in the Money in the Bank. Him already in the Money in the Bank. I believe it's his first one. Him in the Money in the Bank. It's already like, wow. Like, that match is going to be real good. Ricochet brings a lot of talent, obviously. Him in a Money in the Bank match with what is to come as far as the other participants and whomever SmackDown names, I think it's going to be really, really fun. So good on Ricochet. And then we get into the first women's qualifying match. So if you watched the Jabronis or listened, whatever, Toph asked me who my early picks were. I picked the team, sort of Ava Marie and Deudrop. Deudrop. And I kind of had the idea of what James Ellsworth was to Carmella, where Deudrop wins the briefcase, gives it to Ava Marie, basically. So I had that. So this Asuka and Naomi versus Ava Marie and Doudrop match, Money in the Bank qualifying match, I had Eva and Doudrop winning hands down. The name. Before we get into the match, the name. Obviously, I mean, it caused like an uproar on Twitter. It caused an uproar in the community. It's not a flattering name, I guess you could say, but the way they presented it, it was like Ava Marie introducing her and Doudrop not not really embracing the name. She wanted to say something else, but Ava Marie just went on with it. So if they're gonna do it like that, and maybe Piper is not out of the question in the future, see where it goes. But this like WWE and their tag teams and breaking them up and everything, it should not be shocking that Deudrop left Eva Marie hanging. After some antagonizing on Eva Marie's part, Asuka, Naomi able to pick up the victory, pinning Eva Marie in her first, I guess second match. I don't know. Her first official match where she actually did stuff. Excuse me, YouTube. Did stuff. And she took the pinfall. So don't really know where they're going with it. Maybe there's a last chance thing like they're doing with the men and they end up going in. But Asuka, Naomi qualify for Money in the Bank. And, Asuka won it last year. Naomi, she's not terrible. So, sure, why not? Not bad. Adam Pearce, Sonya Deville, they come out and they start talking about Rhea Ripley and how her match ended at Hell in a Cell with her getting intentionally disqualified. Things I like, things I don't like about this segment. I mean, Rhea saying that she did exactly what Charlotte would do. True. I don't mind her saying that at all because it's true. What I don't like is my baby face champion, I think, getting disqualified intentionally. I think she's the baby face. I don't think she is now. I don't know. Not that I would hate two heels going after each other. I just wish they would clarify that a little bit better. But this ends up Rhea Ripley and Charlotte once again at Money in the Bank for the Women's Championship. Nothing to write home about here. Randy Orton versus John Morrison, another Money in the Bank qualifying match. Look, the best thing about Raw has been RK Bro. Hands down, no arguments, no ifs, ands, or buts. So when I saw that Randy Orton and John Morrison were in a match, and Riddle and Drew McIntyre were in a match, I thought it was not impossible. I thought it was impossible that Orton and Riddle both qualify. Like, I thought they were going to. But again, this is another solid match. Miz is starting to distract Randy Orton. They sprays the dip stick, whatever it is, in Orton's face as he's going for the RKO. That brings out Riddle rolling down in a scooter, chasing Miz, who was in a wheelchair. Very funny. This distracts Orton. He gets hung up. Morrison hits Starship Pain. Boom, match over. Shock value for sure. Orton's very irritated. He is disgruntled. He is displeased. And sitting at home, this has me thinking, all right, one of two things will happen. Either Riddle doesn't qualify and, they have something else for Orton and Riddle, or Riddle does qualify and they plant the seeds for a split between the two teams. Now, I've always been prepared for a split. I mean, I'd want them to have a tag title run before that. But, you always prepare for a split, especially with these teams that are thrown together. And especially with how WWE works their tag team. And so, I just didn't expect it to be this soon. And I gotta say, the best thing on Raw, and they're about to split them up. Typical WWE. But I guess we shouldn't be too shocked. We'll get into Riddle and McIntyre a little bit later. Right now, we have another women's Money in the Bank qualifying match. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler with Reginald versus the reuniting of Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. And I know what everyone's going to say. I know what everyone's main take away from this match was. But the problem is that the takeaway wasn't why Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross were teaming up in the first place. I mean, if they could just say, hey, we put you with Alexa Bliss, or hey, Alexa, we put you with Nikki, we needed two teams, like any explanation at all would be fine. But randomly, after the rivalry that they had when Alexa went on like cuckoo caca, just doesn't make sense. But all right, I'll get into what everyone has talked about. You know, Nikki Cross, former member of Sanity, real crazy, probably the most dominant woman in NXT at a time. Never got her fair due. I mean, they've had her celebrating the fact that she survived 2 minutes in her ring with Rhea and Charlotte, but didn't really win the match. I mean, she has fallen for sure. So, okay, she's a member of Sanity in NXT. And if I recall this correctly, she wasn't that necessarily insane when she got called up to the main roster. Like, she was just Nikki. Not crazy, nothing to fear. She wasn't quirky like she is now, but, you know, she was just Nikki. And so to see her dress up like a superhero, obviously the first reactions, including me, was, what the F are they doing with Nikki Cross? Now, a couple days of reflection, a couple days of thinking, and a couple days of news coming out that it was Nikki Cross's idea. That is one thing. I will say that, you know, I'm obviously not a fan of it, but you know what? I personally think, and this is just one man's opinion, she knows what Vince McMahon likes. And let's face it, if like you want to get on TV and you know, you have to bring something to the table that Vince is gonna like. And this is probably like the best thing that Nikki could have done. Dressing up like a superhero. I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend to know what their key demographic is here, but it's definitely, you know, I feel like it would have to be towards the kid side of things, and maybe a superhero is what they're looking for. So, I mean, at first I didn't like it, but hey, if this is Nikki's idea, more power to her. She's probably going to get a pretty big push because of this. More power to her. Good on her. She's great in the ring. She doesn't need to be hokey, but I understand it. Good for her. Interesting backstage segment coming up. Jinder Mahal, Cedric Alexander, Jeff Hardy, and Sheamus backstage getting very upset, very angry that they were not considered for the Money in the Bank qualifying matches. I mean, there's some gripes there. 3 out of the 4 of them are former WWE champions. As much as I hate to say that, Jinder, looking at you. And Adam Pearce, Sonya Deville, not having it, not giving him a chance, nothing. Jinder kind of hints at attacking one of the qualified members. Here's the deal. I'm a big Jeff Hardy fan. I mean, I would love if Jeff Hardy was in this. I would love if Jeff Hardy won it. I would love if Jeff Hardy had another run. But that's not gonna happen. Why? Because as we found out at the end of the night, there's gonna be a last chance match, a triple threat last chance match. Orton, McIntyre. Who's the other one? Orton, McIntyre, and who? Did I miss something? I don't remember. Orton, McIntyre, and somebody else. And AJ Styles. There we go. So Orton, McIntyre, and AJ Styles on a triple threat last chance match. None of these guys complaining are going to get what they want. It's a shame, but I think with Jinder doing the main talking, that they could lead to something. If Drew doesn't win next week, I think maybe Jinder and Drew start a little something. A lot of things you can do there with the 3MB history and whatnot. So we'll see how that goes. Speaking of Drew, Matt Riddle versus Drew McIntyre. I don't like this at all. Let me be clear. I like the match. I don't like Drew being able to compete for Money in the Bank, which will end up being not once but twice, after losing a Hell in a Cell match where stipulation states he cannot challenge for the WWE Championship. McIntyre's beat up. He's got kendo stick scars on his back. Real brutal stuff. It's gross. Randy Orton watching from the entrance. Riddle with the surprise roll up. He gets the 1, 2, 3 shock value. Didn't think it. Riddle immediately. I don't care who else is in. I don't care. Riddle immediately, in my opinion, the favorite to win the Money in the Bank ladder match. I'm calling it right now. This kind of still, after the match, Riddle walks up to the entrance, starts, I guess, trying to celebrate with Randy, but Randy's not having it. Again, just planting little seeds in this. And if I could go out on the limb here for a minute, I don't think we're getting our RK Bro tag title reign. What I do think we're getting is Randy Orton versus Matt Riddle at SummerSlam. Maybe with the Money in the Bank briefcase on the line. But they did that this past year with The Miz and Otis, so I also don't think that's going to happen. But, hey, you got Riddle, you got Ricochet qualifying for the Money in the Bank. You got John Morrison. Hard to beat. And then, again, you have the 3 losers of those matches in a last chance match to determine the 4th Raw spot. I'm assuming SmackDown will have their qualifying matches in the next 2 weeks. I'm expecting one or both of the Usos to be in that. Maybe they win it. We'll save that for another day. Had a backstage segment with Mansoor and Jackson Riker. Jackson Riker ends up challenging Elias to a strap match. Not going to get into it, but I said it on Twitter. I'll say it here. Don't understand why the Mansoor's going to Jackson Riker for A, advice, and B, we all know the history with Jackson Riker and his comments, and I think it's very tone deaf of the WWE to have Mansoor coming up to him. Neither here nor there. Xavier Woods versus Bobby Lashley, Hell in a Cell match. It's a great match. It is a solid match. No complaints here. Unfortunately for Woods, he gets beat up a little bit, and Bobby Lashley wins it with the Hurt Lock. After the match, they end up, I guess, unlocking the cell. MVP goes into the cell and then quickly locks it behind him, so Kofi Kingston can't get in, and they start attacking Xavier Woods. I believe this is to. I'm pretty sure Xavier's getting written off to. He has commitments outside of WWE that he will be doing, so I think this is a way to write him off, which will be interesting to see him not in this storyline leading into Money in the Bank. So that was Raw, and I got it. Like I said, I think it was one of the best Raws, if not the best Raw of the pandemic Thunderdome era. Matches we've never seen before, shock value, and the matches were good. They were good. So I have no complaints. But let's see if they can keep this up, because I don't know if the TV will be great leading into fans coming in. I hope it is. And for their sake, it better be, because you don't want crowds coming back being like, yeah, I don't know about this. So we'll see how it goes. But that about wraps it up for the Untitled Raw review. My name is Mike Butler. Once again, you can follow me on Twitter at Jabroni Butler. Follow the Jabronis at the Jabronis Pod, and follow Bodyslam.net at BodySlamNet on Twitter. Great wrestling content, great content all around. Big things happening there. And also don't forget to subscribe to the Untitled Wrestling Network and hit that notification bell so every time I post a video, you will get a notification. I think. I don't know. I hear YouTube's having a problem with it. I'm not sure. For everyone here at the Untitled Wrestling Network, we shall see you later.